On Tuesday, the 29th of January 2019, Nigeria's oldest surviving private newspaper, the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, celebrated its 70th anniversary at the indoor hall of the Sheraton Hotel, Ikeja, Lagos. The occasion also doubled as the unveiling ceremony to launch the new look of the Tribune newspaper and also symposium themed Good Governance and Party Politics in Nigeria. The Nigerian Tribune newspaper is an English-language newspaper established and first published in Ibadan, the capital city of Oyo State, Nigeria. It was established in 1949 by Chief Obafemi Awolowo, making it the oldest surviving private Nigerian newspaper. In the colonial era, the newspaper served as the mouthpiece for Chief Obafemi Awolowo's populist welfare programs. It also played an important role in defending the interests of the Yoruba people at a time when different ethnic groups were struggling for power. The Nigerian Tribune newspaper was so powerful that at a time, General Ibrahim Babangida retired said of all the Nigerian newspapers, he would only read and take seriously the Nigerian Tribune's editorial column. The newspaper has been through many ups and downs over the years, but has continued to wax stronger and stronger in terms of patronage and national reach. Dignitaries present at the occasion were the chairman of the day, former Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Chief Emeka Anyoko, the current Bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Sokoto, Bishop Matthew Hassan Kuka, who was the guest speaker at the event, the presidential candidate of the Young Progressive Party, YPP, Professor Kindle Mogalu, the Lagos State PDP governorship candidate in the 2019 election, Mr. Jimmy Agbaje, former governor of Ogun State, Otumba Gbenga Daniel, former deputy governor of Lagos State, Alhaji Asinato Ojikutu, the national leader of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, was ably represented by Otumba Femi Pedro, philanthropist par excellence and founder, chairman Premier Lotto Nigeria Limited, Sir Dr. Kessington Adebutu, CON, renowned philanthropist and businessman, Are Kola Oyefeso, chairman of Coleman Wire and Cable, Asiwaju Eski Onofowokon, Afenifere chieftain, Chief Ayo Adebanjo, zonal leader of the Social Democratic Party SDP, Chief Shukbo Shonibare, elder statesman and leader of the Pan-Yoruba Social Political Group, Afenifere Pa Ruben Ayo Fashionrote, Pastor Tunde Bakari and wife, the Alagbero of Igbero Remo, Oba Adeleke Ubasibo, wife of the first executive governor of Lagos State, Alhaja Abimbola Jakonde, Irilo Abiola Dosumu, the executive director of Obafemi Awolowo Foundation, Ambassador Dr. Mrs. Tokunbo Awolowo Dosumu, who was the convener of the forum, former chief of naval staff and former governor of the Old Western Region, Vice Admiral Akintunde Aduwo, retired, the chairman of Troika Group, Mr. Biodo Shobanjo, the Karigbo of Remoland, Oba Babatunde Adewale Ajayi, chairman of Space FM Ibadan, Otumba Deji Oshibogun, Chief Olabode George, publisher of the Guardian newspaper, Lady Maiden Alex Ibro, among many others. The event, which was compared by a veteran multilingual broadcaster and chairman and CEO Biscon Communications, Prince Bisi Olatilo, alongside Yinka Ogunde, started with the national anthem, after which the opening prayer was said by Bishop Ayo Ladigbolu. In the opening remarks of the managing director and editor-in-chief of the African Newspaper of Nigeria, ANNPLC, publishers of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, Mr. Edward Dixon, he described the gathering as a historic event, achieved through a collective effort. He said the Nigerian Tribune newspaper has never deviated from the founder, Chief Obafemi Awolowo's vision to continue to serve as the voice of the voiceless. He thanked the Awolowo family for sustaining the oldest surviving private newspaper in Nigeria till date, and commended members of staff of the Tribune newspaper for keeping the vision of the founder, the late Chief Obafemi Awolowo, alive.
About the great institution, the Tribune newspapers, which we have all gathered here to celebrate, to appreciate and to embrace in addition to this symposium that we follow thereafter. I have called this gathering a celebration and deliberately so, because it is a celebration of our collective history as Nigerians, our resilience as a people. The fact that Tribune, a fully owned indigenous enterprise, has survived these past tortuous decades and inclement business weather has put a lie to the notion that nothing good can survive in our dear country. The Tribune has shown that regardless of inconsistencies of government or lack of direction in their economic blueprint for the nation, any business founded on sound vision, fear of God, and commitment to humanity will find a way to survive. The story of Tribune has been one of resilience and utmost commitment to the great vision of the founders, the sage, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, and his jewel of inestimable value, Mama Ikeja Awolowo. Among several others, the Tribune has trained critical manpower for Nigeria's media industry to flourish. Beyond infusing the media landscape with needed human capital, the Tribune has offered greater services to scholars and researchers on Nigeria's history and Africa's evolution by granting them access to its rich library.
Just before the unveiling of the new look of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper by Ambassador Dr. Mrs. Tokunbo Awolowo Dosunmu, she read a speech by the founder of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, at the 21st anniversary celebration of the newspaper in the year 1970. She later explained how the Nigerian Tribune newspaper has successfully maintained its standards among other newspapers.
Please bear that in mind as I read. So Papa speaks to us now. When preparations were actively underway for the publication of the Nigerian Tribune in 1949, there were many people who predicted that the paper would not live. Some of these people were well-meaning and have spoken from their experience of newspaper failures in Nigeria. And to be quite candid, the list of newspaper casualty was already a long one. It has grown much longer ever since. Besides, the competition from older and then existing papers was so strong that a newcomer from the provinces had very little chance of survival. Others had made their prediction out of sheer ill will. In spite, however, of all the discouraging prognostications, my wife and I, together with a few trusting friends, went ahead in faith with our plan. And so, on 16 November 1949, the Nigerian Tribune was born. From the moment of its birth, the paper faced many difficulties. Its life was threatened both by competitors and the powers that be. The climax of persecution was reached in the 4 years before 1966, when all the known weapons in the armory of tyrannical power were employed against the paper. But it survived them all. So much so that today the paper has not only come of age, but also now has greater prospects for continued existence than it ever had in all its past eventful 21 years. The Nigerian Tribune was founded with one and only one aim in view: to champion fearlessly the cause of justice and fair play in every sphere of our public life.
A short video clip was shown to guests, which focused on the evolution of the newspaper right from inception in 1949, after which the new look of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper was unveiled as a photo and video session ensued. In the remarks of the chairman of the day, former Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Chief Emeka Anyoko, he expressed delight and eulogized the late Chief Obafemi Awolowo for laying good examples through exceptional leadership qualities. Elder statesman Chief Emeka Anyoko also used the opportunity to emphasize that for Nigeria to succeed, we need to go back to the days of true federalism before the military regime.
Today, as we can all see, the Tribune is still in existence and waxing very strong. So in celebrating the Tribune newspaper at 70, we are also inescapably celebrating the legacy of industry, statesmanship, welfarism, and progressive politics of its founder, the sage Chief Obafemi Awolowo. The Nigerian Tribune may not have existed as long as its counterpart in India. The Tribune of India was established or founded in February 1881. But on our shores here in Nigeria, the Tribune is now the oldest surviving private newspaper, which has outlived its forebears and contemporaries. It has attained this enviable longevity and still remains a top-rated newspaper that is read all over the country. It is generally regarded as a reliable institutional brand that is widely relied upon throughout the country and beyond because of its independent perspectives, its unflinching commitment to the dissemination of credible information, as well as being a stickler to the ethics and other hallowed principles of journalism.
Later on, the guest speaker of the day, the current Bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Sokoto, Bishop Matthew Hassan Kuka, spoke on the topic, Good Governance and Party Politics in Nigeria. In his keynote lecture, titled Electoral Integrity, Legitimacy of Democratic Institutions and Good Governance, he said it is difficult to know what new angles one can bring to discussions on party politics, good governance, democracy, and legitimacy, as they are all subject matters of their own. He also said there is no better place or time to highlight the spectacular, monumental, and historic vision of the late Chief Obafemi Awolowo, particularly on his program on education, his establishment of the first television station in Africa. Among some other laudable achievements, Bishop Matthew Hassan Kuka also urged Nigerians to vote right in the forthcoming general elections.
Chief Obafemi Awolowo. So he's a man taken together with the late Aminu Kano. Both men remain, for me, ideologically, the best thing that never happened to Nigeria. I believe that this, more than any other time, is the best place to pay tribute to such a great man. But with hindsight, it's my belief that no aspirant to the office of president in Nigeria, then as now, has in any way shown the level of mental toughness, intellectual depth and prowess, discipline, hard work, vision, originality, thought and philosophy, foresight, and even spiritual preparedness of the late Chief Awolowo. In my humble opinion, the levels and depths of his preparedness for leadership present a combination of the visions of both Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy. I have in several lectures demonstrated that, contrary to what many of us think in Nigeria, we don't have bad leaders in Nigeria. They're not bad leaders. Of course, what we are celebrating today is a history of a man that we never had. But then, with hindsight, it is clear that had this vision not fallen prey to the pernicious internal and external conspiracies of both the colonial and the local elites, our story would have been completely different. The miracles of the Singapores that we're nostalgic about, the South Koreas, the Dubais of today, would have trailed behind Nigeria's achievement. Our combination of raw energy, mental toughness, population, nerve and verve would have placed our country, and indeed our continent, on the highest pedestal of national cohesion and greatness. But the prophet Jeremiah said, and I quote, "Stand at the crossroads and look." Stand at the crossroads and look. As for the ancient paths, ask where the good way is and walk in it, and you'll find rest for your souls. Thank you very much.
In the response of the discussants, beginning with the presidential candidate of the Young Progressive Party, YPP, Professor Kingsley Moghalu, he said he's prepared to rule Nigeria right because he believes in true federalism, adding that his decision to run for presidency is not accidental.
I thought very carefully about running for president. I wrote a book called Build, Innovate, and Grow Big, my vision for our country, in which I set out a very clear, comprehensive vision for this country. So I have thought long and hard. I have served as a professor of international business and public policy at one of the leading universities of the world in the United States. I have served as deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria for 5 years, and I have worked for the United Nations for 17 years, rising from entry level to the highest career rank. I want to make it clear, I am prepared to serve this country as its president. So nobody will say of me, he came by accident and he was not prepared, or he was unwilling. No, I'm not unwilling. If I was unwilling, I wouldn't be making the sacrifice that I am making. I've been around this whole country at great expense and physical stress, explaining my vision and listening to Nigerians about what they want for their country.
Former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria and presidential candidate of the African Democratic Congress, ADC, Dr. Obadiah Milafia, in his address, expressed delight and congratulated the Awolowo family for sustaining the newspaper. He used the medium to implore Nigerians to vote for the African Democratic Congress Party in the forthcoming general election.
Long live Awo. He was not an ordinary human being. He was an Orisha. Ile Oba Toju Ewa Lobushi. I stand here on the heritage of this great man, the greatest leader Nigeria never had. I want to be president not because I am better than anyone. I want to be president because I know the anointing that I carry. And all I can say, like a great Scottish philosopher said, Lord, give me Nigeria. Give me this country where the future of the young people has been mortgaged. Lord, give me this country where there are slaughtering children, there are slaughtering women, they are ripping the wombs of expectant mothers and placing their babies under the sword. It is happening in this country. Lord, give me this country. We are going to change Nigeria. We are going to make it a first-class industrial nation. We are going to make it a civilized democracy. Lord, give me Nigeria or I die.
The presidential candidate of the People's Trust Party, Gbenga Olawepo Hashim, who was represented by Vets Olawale Okuni, used the platform to urge Nigerians to vote for his party. In the closing remarks of Pa Ayo Adebanjo, he thanked the Awolowo dynasty for keeping the vision of the late Chief Obafemi Awolowo, who set up the newspaper to be the voice of the voiceless. He also commended the newspaper for its distinct value and not relying solely on advertisements to survive, unlike some of the newspapers.
I am very happy that you have all honored this occasion, because the Tribune is the paper that laid the foundation for any form of freedom you are all enjoying today. It went through all sorts of tribulation. When the chairman was speaking, there was no room for her to tell you there was a time they were selling the newspaper under wraps, because the government of the day doesn't want to see them. To an extent, they went to the house, the printing house of the Tribune, to burn it down, because we are speaking truth to power. It was the only paper that will speak truth to power on any tyrannical occasion. If you can afford to buy only one newspaper, make sure it is the Tribune. By so doing, you are helping to uphold and establish permanently in this country the establishment of democracy.
In the remarks of the Akarigbo of Remoland, Oba Babatunde Adewale Ajayi, he congratulated the Tribune newspaper on its 70th anniversary and described the celebration as historic. He also used the opportunity to urge Nigerians to give peace a chance in the forthcoming general election. Thereafter was a special announcement by the chairman of the day, Chief Emeka Anyoko, the head of the awards committee. He officially named the founder of the Afe Babalola University, Are Afe Babalola, as the Awolowo Leadership Merit Award winner of the year. The vote of thanks was said by the director and consultant of ANNPLC, Dr. Segun Olatunde, who thanked everyone for coming to witness the historic celebration of the 70th anniversary and unveiling of the new look of Nigeria's oldest private surviving newspaper, the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. From Biscon Communications, it's happy 70th anniversary to the Tribune newspaper.